So I want to talk a little bit about when to use a calculator, when not to use a calculator, and some calculator tricks for evaluating trigonometric functions. So first thing is when I don't want to use a calculator. Anytime we have one of our special angles, our 30 degrees, 45 degrees, or 60 degrees, or their radian equivalents, pi over 3, pi over 6, pi over 4, we are not going to be using a calculator. Instead, we can just go to the chart that we made and we would just look up the cosine of pi over 3 is a half. So that's where that came from, the chart we made in class. The tangent of pi over 6 is square root of 3 over 3. And there's one more special angle up here. There's our 45 degrees. And again, I would just look up in my chart the secant of 45 degrees. The reason I don't want you to use a calculator is because I want exact values. So let's say we did not recognize this as a special angle and we tried to use our calculator for it. And then we'll go back and talk about these other three. So I'd want to make sure, first of all, I'm in the correct mode. I can see that this angle is measured in radians. There's no degree symbol on it. So make sure that you check that, because this time it does matter. So press mode, and I can see that I'm in radian mode. In a few minutes, I'll switch to degree mode. And then let's say, again, incorrectly, that I type this into my calculator. So I type in tangent of pi over 6, and I get on my calculator not this exact value, I get the decimal approximation. If you try to change that into a fraction, you'll see it's not going to work because that fraction is irrational. So I don't ever want to see 0.577. I want to always see the exact value that we've looked up in our chart. Okay, but these other three, pi over 8, 2 pi over 9, and 55 degrees, are not special angles. So those three, I will use my calculator to get an approximate answer. So let's go ahead and get these two degree ones done since I'm in degree mode. So this is a cotangent, so I reach for my calculator because it's not a special angle, and I see that, well, I don't have a cotangent button. And it is not second tangent. That's an inverse tangent. That's something totally different. Instead, the only way to type in the reciprocals is to recognize that cotangent is the reciprocal just of tangent. And so the only way to type one of these in, whether your degrees or radians, is to do 1 divided by the reciprocal. So 1 divided by the tangent is what I would have to type in to get cotangent. Now, don't do the reciprocal of that. I've seen people do that, and that's very wrong. Pi over 8 stays pi over 8. And so that's the only way to get that typed in. Well, the only way I'm going to show you to get it typed in. And there's where I got my approximate answer. And again, decimals are okay here because pi over 8 is not one of my special angles. All right. Cosecant, again, is a reciprocal, so I can't type that in directly. But I recognize that cosecant is just the reciprocal of the sine function. So I can type in 1 divided by sine. Once again, I'm still in radian mode because my angle is in radians, 2 pi over 9. There's no degree symbol. Over 9. And so there's my approximate answer of about 1.5557. And then finally, we'll go ahead and do the sine of 55 using 55 degrees using a calculator because 55 is not a special angle. I do have to make sure I change my mode at this time because 55 degrees is in degree mode, or is in degrees, obviously. So change over to degree mode. You'll have to switch back and forth a lot from here on out. That's just the way this works. And then I can type in sine. That's not a reciprocal, just regular sine of 55 degrees. And there's 0.8192 approximately. Okay, so again, just be careful about when you're using your chart to find exact values, when it's okay to use a calculator, and just check what mode you're in and how to get those reciprocals typed in. So there's a lot to kind of keep in mind as you go about evaluating trigonometric functions.